Right. So my name's Barry Turner, and I'm the presenter this morning. I'm aiming to give you enough um, tips and ideas and a structure for the plan, so you can, when we've finished, you can take this away and implement your own nurturing plan. Why myself? I've been leading and consulting with marketing teams across a variety of markets for the past 10 years. Prior to that, I had extensive sales and sales leadership experience in the technology, print supplies market. And over the past 5 years, I've conducted sales and marketing um, consulting sessions with over 30 organisations. Many of those were here in South Wales with the Welsh Government business development programmes. So let's look at the challenge. So in the speech marks, I've put down a list of comments that I've had relayed back to me from my clients over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks. So I won't go over all of these. I'm just going to pick out one or two. Number one, budgets disappeared. So I was on a call yesterday with a prospect I've been working on now for about 6 weeks. It's a large international company who are very successful. I'm working with a partner to try and close the business. They love the proposition we've put to them, and they'd earmarked some money for us to get going next month. And then the conversation was, we've got to try and find a different budget pot. So that's a common story that I'm sure many of us are hearing at the moment. Customer needs a discount. Many buyers are for organisations will be coming back to you and saying, we can go ahead. Can you shave some money off? Our customers are pushing us. So again, that's a common story. Less common, and I do have one customer that's struggling with this. These guys are completely flooded out with orders. In a month, their turnover has doubled. The client there is less concerned about marketing and really focused on how they get their supply chain and logistics organised so he can fulfil his orders every day. Another common one is a couple of common ones. One is can we delay or delay payment, and the other one is priorities have changed. Many businesses have gone. The majority of businesses have gone through a real sea change in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and that knock-on effect will be that their priorities that they're working on will have changed in most cases substantially. I would summarize all of those as the majority of customers have delayed or stopped ordering. And many of those, certainly in the overwhelming number of clients I've talked to over the last 4 or 5 weeks, apart from that one exception, the rest are all finding that the pipeline is either being the sales pipeline and marketing pipeline is either being delayed or has dried up completely. So that's the challenge, and in those circumstances, it's really critical that we look after the existing customer relationships we have. We don't know how long this situation is going to last. It's unlikely to be a short period, and even if the government do allow us to get back to some form of normal working over the next 4 to 12 weeks, until the medical situation is completely resolved, we're going to be working in a very different world than we were earlier this year. So looking after those customers that you already have and maintaining those relationships will be critical for you to come successfully out of the crisis when we return to what will be a new normal. So what is nurturing and why do we do it? Lead nurturing is a concept that has come out of what's called marketing automation. And it's about nurturing new lead relationships in the early stages of engaging with you as a potential client. It's generally used as a process in digital marketing, and it's based on the stats on the right hand side. So on average, 50% of the leads in any system are not yet ready to buy. And you know, there's lots of examples of that. Myself and my wife replaced a quite old car earlier this year. So our 14-year-old Renault Clio, we felt we needed refreshing. So we spent a couple of months looking at the market. Right, and now early in that process, I was just researching. So I was a lead for the local car salespeople, but I was not yet ready to buy. Almost 80% of new leads never become sales. I mean, that's something many of us experience. And that's people who are interested or perhaps move on and buy from a competitor, or perhaps their interest never leads to them taking any activity. Companies that excel at lead nurturing, and this is where for me it gets really interesting, generate 50% more sales-ready leads at a 33% lower cost. And that stats come from Marketo. Marketo are one of the leading providers of marketing automation software. And I'll talk more about Marketo in a couple of minutes' time. And then finally, nurtured leads make 47% larger purchases than non-nurtured leads. So if you nurture those leads really well, they tend to end up making bigger buys from you than they would do. So the nurturing process is normally based on those new leads that are coming onto your website, onto your social media, and using automated marketing to feed them with information to build that trust and relationship with them. And I'm going to take that concept of nurturing and apply it in a different way that's more relevant to the current circumstances. So classic nurturing makes use of marketing automation to build trust with potential clients. And these, Marketo, HubSpot, Keep, and Salesforce, Pardo, are all marketing automation engines. Now, I'm acutely aware that most of you on this call will be running very small businesses. I mean, my business is me. So I'm, a one-man business, and I provide consultancy to a number of clients. Marketo and Salesforce Pardo are products that are aimed at the sort of enterprise and larger businesses, and come with that type of price tag. However, Keep, which used to be known as Infusionsoft, and HubSpot are both priced for the small and medium-sized business. And certainly Keep, I had one client here in South Wales who used Keep very successfully, and they were a 7-man business. Right? It's priced to enable you to do that and gives you a bundle of functionality. HubSpot make elements of their service available free of charge, and gives you an enterprise level capability for actually quite a low cost. So HubSpot is certainly worth looking at. So what does nurturing do? So on the left hand side of the slide, we've got the marketing funnel. So when a customer comes to market to buy something, they go through what we call a buying cycle. So they become aware they need something. They look to research and demonstrate interest in the product or service. They then go through consideration, which is where they're doing more detailed research. The purchase process is when they've decided, yes, we're going ahead, we've got some budget, and start to make the hard decision of, do we buy from A or do we buy from B? So in the case of my example with the car, do we get another Renault or do we go with a Hyundai? In the end, we went with a Hyundai. That's the purchase stage. And then the final piece on the buying cycle is retention. And the marketing funnel is the marketing activities that you do to move clients through those different stages, and respects the fact that at each of those stages they're looking for different types of information from you. So in classic nurturing, which is the sort of the green arrow on the left, you're generally focused on the awareness, interest, and consideration stages. This is when the client isn't yet ready to buy, may be ready to buy next month, it might be next year. You don't really know. And classic nurturing is all about maintaining contact, keeping your brand in front of them, and providing them with information that they will find useful. In today's time, where we've got this major fragmentation of the market and major stress of the market, my suggestion to you is that we apply those principles to our existing customers. So those clients we've got who will buy from us on a regular basis and are in the retention stage, so you're working with them to retain them and make sure they keep coming back to you. Apply those nurturing principles to that list of customers that you have, so that when we come out of this process over the next 2, 3, 4, 6 months or whatever it may be, you've got a positive relationship left in place. To do that, you really need to be able to successfully nurture those relationships during this current situation. You really need to get an understanding of your customer's situation. And that will be really broad. And when we looked at the challenge slide, there were lots of different examples on there. So I'd suggest, first of all, you listen to them, right? Know what their priorities are. And their priorities might be finding new customers. Their priorities might be managing the cash flow. Their priorities might be maintaining their staff motivation whilst they're in furlough. You need to ask the questions and find out what's important to them and find out how to help them. The other thing I'd suggest you do is group clients into what I've called crisis segments. So segmentation is a marketing activity whereby you group like-minded clients together so that you can approach them and message them and work with them. And I think within the current crisis situation, I've suggested here 4 different groups. So if you've got clients that are growing, and I've certainly got one who's growing like mad, the conversation to have there is very different from the conversation of a client who's put most of the staff into furlough. So, I've suggested these 4 groups. They don't necessarily need to be these 4. You know your customers best, so you think of your own crisis segments. But the ones I suggest are growing customers, customers with staff in furlough, customers where they've got cash flow is a priority, and customers where they've got supply chain issues. So please be imaginative in terms of developing your own crisis segments. And the reason I suggest that is if you've got a client that's growing, they probably don't want to hear about managing staff in furlough. And similarly, if you've got a client where all the staff are in furlough, they probably don't want to hear how you can help them grow the business. Focus your messaging and your communications to them in a way that's... So what marketing tactics to adopt? So what marketing tactics to adopt? Putting this slide together that most of you, like myself, like Keep, Infusionsoft or HubSpot, and make you more productive. If you don't, this is a group of tactics that you can put together yourself, and learn how to do it if you don't have the skills, and do these effectively. So we relevant and help the client. And I've got a couple of examples of these in a couple of slides time. Newsletters with information that will help in the current crisis. So newsletters can be published usually once a quarter, or maybe a couple of times a year. If you're not used to using newsletters, and they don't have to be extensive, 1 or 2 pages with useful information that your clients can take away and use will generally be received very positively. Blogs on information that will help in the current crisis. So I use LinkedIn as one of my main marketing tools, and LinkedIn is full of people pushing ideas out at the moment with useful information on that will help in the current crisis. Blogs are powerful. You can use them on social media. You can use them on your website. You can turn them into press releases for relevant press. So they do take some time to put together, but it gives you some good content. Demonstrations. So if you've got a product or a service where you can demonstrate how to get more from the features, or demonstrate somehow how to get more value from it, that in today's times will be really helpful. And certainly one of the emails I use as an example uses that basis for the structure of the email. And demonstrations can be done live using a webinar like this. They can be recorded and pushed out on YouTube or a similar video channel, and then released on the website and used on social media. So there's lots of ways of doing a demonstration in a digital manner. Giveaways. So if you have items that you can give away that have a low economic cost to you and a big value to your client, they make ideal giveaways. And I've got a good example of one that I'll talk about in a couple of slides time, from the physiotherapy company I work with that I use. Offers and promotions. So if you, and by that I mean, I tend not to like just giving stuff away for the sake of giving it away. If you can package products together and provide those at a discount, or if you can run a promotion in some way that makes it easier for clients to buy, or makes it more attractive for them to do so, that recognises and respects current circumstances, then they are good ways of staying in contact with your clients. Customer surveys, right? And customer surveys can be put together really quickly and easily. There's a number of tools out there, such as SurveyMonkey, that are relatively low cost and enable you to do that in a very cost-effective manner. They don't need to be extensive. So, you know, anywhere from up to 5 questions, you get a lot of value back from that. And again, you're maintaining contact with your clients. Regular customer calls. So I get my domain and email and Microsoft software from GoDaddy, and they are fantastic at actually staying in touch. I mean, as I said earlier, my business is me. I don't spend a huge amount of money on email and domains. It's a website. I mean, it's a few £100 a year, but they ring me every quarter, right? Their regular customer calls are a real positive, and the guys that ring me are really helpful. So, you know, in today's circumstances, if you've got people who are perhaps less busy than they were a couple of months ago, have them ringing customers and finding out how the customers are, and having that chat. And finally, webinars and video. Right. Powerful. This is powerful content. Can be put together. Needs some thought. So, aside from the hiccup on the title on this slide, it probably took me a day to put this material together. And webinars can be recorded, videos that you can put together with just the use of a mobile phone if you know how to use it. And they give you content that will enable to engage with your client. So content is king in digital marketing. Your social media sites are there to attract attention to your website and to as a channels for getting your content to your clients. So creating, and the piece that's highlighted in yellow, creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content is really powerful in attracting a good audience. And there's a number of different types of content. Video we've touched on. So email is a form of content. Website, you might want to write more new pages on your website. SMS, I've got one of the examples I've got is a good use of text messaging. One of my favorites are case studies. So if you can find out, work with customers who've used your products and service successfully, turn that into a case study. That might be a video, it might be a PDF document, it might be a web page, but tell the story of what problem they were solving with your product or service, or how it made them help them to optimize an opportunity. And then finally, blogs and podcasts. And the good thing about digital technology is we can all access all of these types of capabilities for very little or no cost. Content doesn't have to be just original content that you produce, though. So there's a general rule of thumb that if you use 20% original content and 80% curated content, you will achieve your goals. Curated content is where you use someone else's content. So for example, let's say this was recorded and available on the program website. Then you could make a LinkedIn or a social media post saying, listen to Barry on this website, was full of some useful ideas. Here's the link. Right? That for you would be curated content. Like when you're using curated content, and always acknowledge the source. Right? It demonstrates integrity and does actually help build your credibility. So a couple of examples. So the first example is from Coates's Physiotherapy. Coates are a company with physio premises in Chepstow, Newport, and Monmouth. And one of the things I love to do in life is run. And as with 99.9% of runners, occasionally that means I get injuries and need to go and see a physio. And Coates is a place where I go when I need that help. So I last worked with Coates in February. I'd no plans to go back because the injury I've got is now largely recovered and I'm back running. But physio is one of those professions that's really impacted by social distancing. You can't do physio and social distance. So they have as well as the main website, they have a second website called Physio in a Box, which is a collection of helpful videos and other content to help you improve your exercising and recover from injury. So they sent me a text message in the top right-hand corner of the screen, the little bit that says Tuesday, 7th of April. I received a text from them, and inviting me to go and log on at Physio in a Box and giving me a coupon code to do that free of charge. That's a really good example of something that has low economic cost to them. It was probably just the cost of sending a text message, and high value for me as a client because it gives me access to something I would normally have to pay for. So that's one example of being able to give stuff away that has a low cost to you and a high value to the client. The next couple of examples are emails. So, and there's 3 emails. There's one from BT about how to get more from my phone during the current coronavirus pandemic. There's another one from a company called Corn Ferry, who are a human HR consultancy. And that's inviting me to attend a webinar called Navigating Coronavirus. That's probably less relevant to me because I don't employ anyone. But nevertheless, there's some useful content there that will probably help me with clients. And then the last one is from LastPass, who I get some security tools from. And again, the common thing about all of those is all 3 are offering helpful tips and advice to make me more productive and safe at home during the coronavirus pandemic. So it's a good use of recognizing the fact that we're in this situation, providing helpful tips to the client, and I mean doing that, keeping your brand at the forefront of the thinking and extending the relationship. So what budget do I need to spend? And it's very much how long is a piece of string. So I'm acutely aware that most who run this program will have, you will either be self-employed like myself, or probably only have 2 or 3 people working with you in the company. So the marketing resources you've got are relatively limited. So how much do you need to spend depends on resources. Most of the tactics I talked about earlier can be put together yourself in an effective manner if you take time to research them, practice them, and learn how to do them. So you can do them in-house for low cost. Typically in the sort of small and medium enterprise, marketing budgets vary from 5 to 16% of revenue. I've not really worked out how much I spend on marketing. It's probably less than 5%. But the key thing is the quote on the right-hand side. A quarter of SMEs said online marketing contributed between 30% and 50% of their annual income, and 10% said it contributed up to 100%. Right? Very much depends on what your business is, who your clients are, and what the business model is that you have. But please do think about, if you can afford it in today's circumstances, increasing that marketing spend, and then providing you do that in an effective manner, you will feel the benefit from that when we start to pull out of the crisis. Some guidelines for communicating in times of crisis. 1, be proactive in your communications. So if you need to put staff in furlough, and that's going to impact your customer service, tell your clients, inform them, be proactive. Don't let them find out that by ringing up and not being able to get the phone answered. Show that you care. I think the 3 examples of emails and the coach physiotherapy example all showed that those companies care about my business and are trying to help me. Offer a shoulder to lean on, and this is where the phone calls come in. So if you've got a good relationship with your clients, many of us in small businesses are going to find the next 6 months really tough, and sometimes it just helps to have that shoulder to lean on. Inspire your audience. Give them ideas that they can take away, they can pick up, they can put into action, and they can help themselves to develop and drive the business forward. And finally, audit your content queue. So look at your content and look at what's appropriate and what isn't appropriate in today's circumstances, which leads me on to the next slide, which is a marketing audit. So auditing your content queue is about identifying marketing assets that can be reused. Some of your content may not be appropriate in today's changed circumstances. And a marketing audit is a process I take clients through whereby we list all of their marketing assets. And that includes content, it includes the social media, the websites, what they do with the press, the physical marketing, so events they attend, what resources they've got, what data they've got. And then we look, when in going through that process, we look at how effective it is and what could be reused and what needs to perhaps be archived. So the first thing I would say in starting to look at a marketing audit is customer data is king. So in order to send emails out quickly, low cost and effectively, you need to have customer data and you need to have the opt-ins in place. So I'd start with your customer data and make sure that that's fit for purpose. When you then move to the next stage and review what marketing assets you've got, what platforms do you use, what websites, have you got more websites than you need? A good example of that, I've got a couple of when I set my domains up, I've got a couple of domains that I don't really need, so I'm in the process of getting rid of those to reduce my costs. What content do you have? You may well have content that you produced a couple of years ago that is still very relevant and can be reused. You might need to give it a refresh, change the photos or something. But you know, if it's still relevant, reuse it. What marketing tools have you got? What skills? I mean, you might think, oh, hopefully you go away from the webinar today with some good ideas and feel you haven't necessarily got the skills to do them. So identify what help you need and then go out and find that. The template on the right hand side, the spreadsheet you can see in blue, is the marketing audit template I use. Dewi, who runs the program, does have a copy of that. So if you do want a copy of the marketing audit template for you to use, please do email him, and the email contact is in the bottom left hand corner of the screen. And then finally, we've got in here, there's a list of references. So if I know we don't publish the PowerPoint, if you take a screenshot of the references, then the references are places I've pulled information from, or some useful tools that I've included in the slides. And again, this is a second set of references. So if you want to make use of these, just take a screenshot and save that. And then finally, there's a nurturing action plan. And the example which covers, I kept this really simple: actions, description, who's going to do it, due date, and comments. So the example I put down is run a marketing audit, a description, and email the CEFN program to obtain the spreadsheet. Who, sales manager, due date next Friday, and comments may need help from the agency you use. So the action plan is actually embedded in the marketing audit spreadsheet. So if you do contact Dewi for the spreadsheet, then you'll get a copy of the action plan as well. And again, if you screenshot this particular page, you'll see Dewi's email on the bottom left hand side. So thank you for listening. It's been a real joy putting the material together. Hopefully you will find it helpful. And if you do need any more help on the marketing, please contact Dewi and have a conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barry. Thank you as well to everyone who's attended today's event. I hope that you found it as useful and informative as I have. And thank you to Barry for delivering the webinar as well for us. If you're watching us or joining us on Facebook and you're not part of the CEFN family but would be interested in joining, please message me on Facebook or on the email link that Barry's provided, and we'll be happy to get you on board. Following that, we have another webinar scheduled for next week, details which will be going up on Facebook and sent out to the members of the CEFN family in the next few days. So if you want to have more support from us, then please do sign up, and we will see you next week. So thank you again for Barry, and I hope everyone has a lovely, relaxing and safe weekend. Thank you.
Thanks, Dewi. See you, folks. Bye.